I value my family's opinion like so highly. Automatically, like I think my critical thinking goes out the window when my parents are involved.
Hello everyone. Hey. Do you know TikTok?
Yeah.
Hey. Your hey reminded me of that. But
welcome to another episode
of Pooty Pod.
We were out of sync. It do be fine though.
It doo bop.
Dude. I have nothing to say about it.
Okay.
Nothing to say about her.
This week, what happened? I got my flu shot.
Oh, you did?
I did. I do be getting my flu shot.
I don't see it.
It's right there.
Oh, nice.
I was genuinely so concerned for it because I think it's actually been a while since I've gotten my flu shot. But a coworker of mine had gotten the flu shot and got really sick. So then I was really concerned because I need to play football. But it did absolutely nothing to me other than a sore arm for a couple of hours.
Oh, nice.
So please go get your flu shots as it is cold and chilly outside. But I have an update. Actually, it's not really an update. It's just like, hopefully this makes your day better. I had dinner with a friend who I haven't seen in 3 years.
Oh,
honestly, haven't even really talked. And interesting enough, I don't think she'd mind me sharing. It's kind of similar to our episode of like losing your best friend. I was always kind of wondering like, oh, I wonder why we stopped talking, or like, it's kind of just like what happened there. And I think she felt the same way of feeling like a burden by reaching out because I'm so busy, etc. But also we do live 3,000 miles away from one another. So just being able, like, I'm so happy that she reached out and we spent like 4 to 5 hours together. And it was so encouraging that she said that our podcast helped her so much throughout COVID, but also a reason why she reached out, like kind of like gained that courage to do so, was also because of the podcast. So she is a Kogi.
Oh my god.
And she also participated in her church's like turkey bowl, like on the East Coast. And she won their church first place.
Oh my gosh.
And she was a lineman too.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, so she needs to coach me here because she's experienced. She's a veteran, 3rd year.
Wait, I love that.
Yeah. So that was a great time. But yeah, I wanted to share that she, I think, loves. I don't think she actually said like
Does
verbatim.
she love us?
I think she loves the podcast.
I love that.
So she listens. So I'm happy she does that. But other than that, given the time of this drop, I wouldn't have attended yet. But this coming weekend, I will be attending the USC-UCLA football game at the Rose Bowl.
Weren't we supposed to, didn't you say let's all go to that together?
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, remember last year I really wanted to go.
Right.
But then you said the team sucked.
Yeah,
so then we didn't end up going.
Yeah.
Well, Gloria's going to be in a different country far, far away.
Oh, okay. Who are you going with then?
I'm going with Sarah
and
fun. Aaron. But our friend Aaron went to UCLA, so it'll be an interesting game. Yeah, because I think, don't quote me on this, but USC might be 8th, like ranked nationally, and UCLA not even just in the pack, just like
Pac-12,
just AP poll wise, like USC is 8 and UCLA is 9th, both 8-1.
That's really scary.
Yeah, Hughes unfortunately had 3 losses back to back, and so they were like,
I saw that
22, and then just kind of dropped out of it.
Right.
But so yeah, I'm super excited.
Wow,
I'm super excited.
This is gonna be your second football game of the year, and then maybe you'll go to a 3rd and 4th, right?
Exactly.
Wow, that's fun.
And then, I mean, that's about it. I'm just super excited. So go SC, we're gonna win.
Okay.
We're gonna win. Like, I just feel it.
Yeah.
In my bones.
In those bones.
Yeah, in my bones.
In your vitamin D deficient bones.
No, it's going up. I've been taking multivitamins.
Okay,
every single day for the past like 4 months.
Oh, okay.
I've maybe missed 2 days.
Wait, I love the consistency.
Yeah, I have the pill pack. It's pink. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Friday. I saw it
Friday.
in your room yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I was taking a meeting at your house and then like was running away from the living room because it was too loud, and then I got in trouble. Not actual trouble. They were just like, wow, Hannah said that she was eating and so she is muted, but maybe she left. And I was like, no, I didn't leave. I was literally like, I just like didn't hear what they were saying.
Yeah. Because I was also watching football.
So loud on the TV. It's fine.
We notched it down a bit. It wasn't even like that good of a game, but like
you have to keep
visual learning.
Yeah, you have to keep up.
Visual
Absolutely.
learning. Yeah. What about you?
What's been going on? Oh, I think it's just like exercise related.
Okay.
I hit a PR.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, I felt that.
You did.
I felt that forearm energy and strength.
Yeah? Okay, awesome. Because I can now back row 45 pounds.
Can you show me a back row?
Oh,
is it one of these?
Yes, it's one of those.
Oh,
it's one of those.
So what is this workout? Is it your?
It's for your back.
Oh,
yeah.
It's not your arm.
Yeah, it's for your back. And so, yeah, I can back row 45 pounds. So that's really exciting. And then
for like 45 what? Like dumbbells?
Yeah.
Or is it?
Yeah.
You're
dumbbells.
holding a dumbbell that's 45 pounds,
and then one arm at a time.
Crazy.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's this, not this. Is this?
It's like in and back.
Shoot.
Yeah, and I was really excited because like I feel like back day you never. Like when you first start working out, everyone's like, oh, I don't feel anything that's happening.
Yeah.
And I finally get it. Like I finally understand like mind muscle connection for my back. And so it's been my favorite day.
Okay.
I can now curl 20 pounds.
What is that?
Like just like your
dumbbells?
standard. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does this workout?
For your bicep.
Okay.
Like can you tell?
Damn.
Can you tell? Yeah, and so just been like getting back into the gym and also discovered that, so I was like last month I was cramping really bad, right? Like I never have to take Midol or anything like that, but I was like having to take Midol because it would just hurt so much. And then I went to Pilates and I realized that Pilates helps so much with my cramps. Like I don't know what it is about like the ab. I think it's just like ab exercises. You don't think that it would work that way, but like something about doing ab exercises like helped.
Oh yeah, I think the core so important.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah.
I am no longer on birth control, but I feel like when I was on birth control, my cramps were kind of bad.
Okay, well, I just started.
That's the first time I had to take Midol.
Yeah. I think it's the birth control then.
Yeah, I think so. Because before that, I never ever, like Advil just did the job.
Right.
But even then, I don't like naturally go to Advil when I have a headache.
Right.
I mean, maybe more so like now I'm not dependent, but like I'll think to take Advil. But when I was in like high school and then college, I would never like, oh, I have a huge headache or I have a cramp, let me take some Advil.
Exactly.
But it was never like so bad where I needed to take Midol.
Yeah.
But yeah. The few times I did was when I was on birth control.
Yeah, so. I went on birth control for my skin, and I think I'm slowly seeing improvements, so that's good. But I can't tell if it's because I've been doing like 2 chemical peels a month.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is that
allowed?
You're supposed to do? Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because I was under the impression that your skin, like, it cycles, like, what, every 28 days? Like, every 21 days or something like that?
Oh, yeah. What's the word again?
Regenerates? Renews?
Desquamated?
Oh.
Desquamate?
Uh-huh.
Is it desquamate?
I think it was desquamate.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Yeah. Anyways.
We're past that.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's...
Okay.
Those are the updates. Not too much.
Like Yang said, whatever works for you.
Right.
Whatever works for you, boo.
Right. And I've been trying to be more consistent with that skincare routine.
Yes.
Because your girl be getting bags. Okay. Well, great. Yeah, we're getting into a juicy episode. Yeah, I just want to preface by saying that, like, you know,
we love our families.
We love our families. We go through ups and downs. And I need to practice asking God for forgiveness and practicing patience. So,
yes, same here.
Yeah.
You should too.
Yep.
Everyone could use a bit more patience.
We're gonna get right into our episode.
This will be a more free form, free flowing.
Yeah. We just need to talk.
Because parents are always parents, and I feel like the issue we're gonna have will, whether we like it or not, be repeated.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And I just think it's funny because, right, at church,
so many things are funny.
One of our pastor was speaking on just like relationships with our siblings and stuff like that, and so that's been really relevant. And then also they were speaking about how, like, you know, what are some things, like maybe habits, like bad habits specifically, that we should cut off. You know, like, right, there's a lot of talk of like ending the generational trauma and stuff like that. And so I think, like, you know, this episode comes at a very timely time.
Yeah, I think it was, the word isn't like sad, but but I think it's more so I did empathize in that sometimes your parents, I don't know about you, but like sometimes at least for like on mine, like, well, actually, I don't know, like, did you have to do FAFSA? And like, I think especially with like the whole Biden, like loan forgiveness thing too, trying to understand it for my parents just to help them understand it. I mean, how do you even translate like verbiage like FAFSA?
As second generation kids, I think you have like a lot of responsibilities. If your parents like don't speak English, right? Like, you know, somebody in our small group was sharing like, oh, I've had to like review my parents' bills like since like elementary school. Like, you know, I've had to do all the parent teacher conferences like translated, like me translating on behalf of the teacher. And so I think like, you know, like communicationally it can be really tough, and then also like expectation wise it can be tough because right, they grew up in a different generation.
And it's funny because my dad, he like, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, which is, I think this is why TikTok was adapted so well, because when everyone was ready to talk about it during COVID. I mean, do you remember that trend of like, you know, people posting like, me in elementary, that was literally a trend. Me as a kid having to like call the, you know,
call the IRS.
Call Edison, calling the credit card company, like to figure this shit out. You don't even know what a credit card is as a kid. I still don't know sometimes, like billing date and due date, and you know, I really should figure it out, but as long as it's zero, am I right?
Hopefully not like the account,
checking
like
account.
Your checking account
should not be at zero. Because then you'll get fined. Maybe $25, $35 if you overdraft.
Right, we need a couple dollars in there.
Exactly. But anyways, I think it was just adopted so well because people were sharing the generational trauma that we just mentioned, and it's more people than you think who are experiencing the same thing.
And so, you know, speaking about families and kind of like managing expectations, I think today we wanted to take this in a direction of like, you know, the weight that our parents can have on us in our like life decisions, like honestly regarding everything. Like, I think it spans from, you know, like who you're choosing as your partner to what you're doing for your career to like your relationship with them. Like, I think like there's just like there can be a lot of like weight and heaviness to that.
And I think this is, at least for me, a time when I can talk about it, because I have known prior to this year, like previously, that my parents are very influential in my daily decision making. And what's interesting is in our previous episode, I had talked about some of the good things that I've learned from my previous relationship, right? And I think one of them is actually being shown a different perspective, right? And actually coming to the realization that actually like, wow, I think I've actually groomed my parents to thinking I am a certain way, and here I am like getting upset when they don't treat me like the way I want to be treated, because for so many years I've allowed them to treat me the way that they did. Not in a bad way, but in terms of expectations, right? Like, tell me why I had a curfew, right? Post college, like now not living at home. Sometimes I'll get texts like, oh, like in the morning, in the AM, like from my little sister in the family group chat, like, oops, fell asleep at my friend's place. I forgot to text you guys, like coming home, like by whatever time. And there is no, like, there was no follow-up conversation with her. So why is that okay for her, but not me? Like stuff like that. Right.
Because I don't think, as, you know, the first daughter who obeys all the rules, you've done a good job of training your parents to believe like, oh, Julie is going to disappoint us sometimes. Julie is sometimes not going to come home because she fell asleep at her friend's house.
And that's why when I did decide to challenge them a little bit, kind of the dynamic, right, is what resulted in a 6-month argument with my dad. Right? Because they were just so confused. Like, what the heck? Why at like 24 are you acting like this?
Like, right? I think for me too, right? Because I was goody two shoes. Like, I straight A's, like, you know, all the SAT prep, like everything. And so when I started challenging them, it was like, oh, she's going through her rebellious phase. Like, they kind of just like write it off as that, where it's like, no, this isn't me rebelling. Like, this is like me, like kind of being a person finally, you know? And like, when I say like being a person, I think like a lot of your 20s, especially like post like grad, is learning to make decisions for yourself, right? Like you said, when you got into your, you know, previous relationship, you were able to, you know, kind of like just see another perspective. Like, same for me. I think like, you know, living outside of the house and then like, you know, having to make these like big life decisions, I was like, I don't want to always go to my parents because I feel like I'm not making decisions for myself, right? And so like I remember there came a point where it was like, oh, I need to like learn how to do this, so let me practice, right? And so I started to not ask my parents for literally any advice. I literally was like the most extreme I could have been. I was like, I'm not even gonna like consult them on like, let's say I get like 3 different job offers. I'm not even gonna consult them because right, I value my family's opinion like so highly to the point where if I even ask them like, oh, like what do you think I should do, and they're like, oh, you should definitely go with job B, I won't consider A or C, even if I think
I thought you were going to say like, I'll for sure go A or C.
Oh, no. Like I wouldn't even consider A or C because automatically, like I think my critical thinking goes out the window when my parents are involved.
Yeah.
You know, when we speak about like the weight that our parents have on us, like I think like when I do ask for their opinion and like maybe in the back of my head, I like know that, you know, whatever their opinion is, like that's not the one that feels right in my heart. I think it feels really heavy because it's like, oh, I don't want to make a wrong decision, or like I don't want to like rebel and like go against your word. And so I think like this like phase like post grad and like in our 20s has been kind of like, you know, trying to learn how to make decisions for myself.
Well, 2 questions. Like, is it more of like a conversation? Like, I know like this, like whether this be a hypothetical situation or not, like when you do come to your parents with like these options for what career related things, work related things, if you felt like A was the one and they're like gung-ho on, you know, option B, is it more of a conversation, or is it like there B and like you said, your critical thinking goes out the door and it's just B, no discussion, boom? And second question, well, because obviously I value my parents' opinion so much too.
Right.
But why do you think your critical thinking goes out the door when like your parents are involved? Well, because like I'm trying to think like, because it definitely then ties into like wanting to please them and like, right, not making the wrong choice.
Yeah.
But that must root deeper to like something deeper in the sense of, do you think they like will love you less? Or do you think they'll be like disappointed in you? But they're disappointed, but right, like as a parent, like does that really matter when your child's happiness is on the line? Right, like what do you personally think you equate it to, and why you value their opinion so much?
I think that it's a discussion, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
ABC, it's a discussion. It's a little bit of a discussion. And so if I'm like kind of, you know, going hard for A and they're going like hard for B, I'm like, okay, like let me hear them out. But at the end of the day, like even if I think A is right, like I will just go with their answer because, right, I think one thing me and my sister have always said is like my parents have like a proven track record of like making the right decision, right? Which is why I think in my like own personal development, I've like kind of steered towards there's no right decision. Life will just kind of, you know, work around the decision that you make. You just have to make a decision, like June said in his episode, and even like Young said in his episode. And so I think like I'm trying to like kind of like negotiate those things with myself. And then when it comes to like why my critical thinking goes out the door when my parents are involved in like decision making is because I think like I like almost put my parents on a pedestal, right? Like I think like we've spoken about putting partners on a pedestal and stuff like that, but like, right, like I'm just sure like because of like them being older and having like more knowledge and experience, like automatically I'm like, you kind of know what's best. And so like I would hope that like, you know, like your parents out of everyone like want the best for you, and so they're going to try to steer you in the right direction. And so I think like that's a part of the reason. But then when you say like, okay, like let's dig deeper, it does have to do with like people pleasing, right? Like I think a lot of times like I don't want to like stir drama, and so I like won't bring things up with my family. And then even with friends, like I'm pretty amicable. Like it's like, oh, you guys make the decision, I'm fine with whatever. And so it has to do with, you know, like not feeling like a burden or like not like inserting my opinion like too strongly. I think I've gotten a little bit better at that, like where I'm like, oh, let's do this. I don't want to eat this, you know? But then my parents, like it's harder to do that because, you know, a lot of times I think we're catering to other people. Like I'm either catering to my sister or to my dad or to my mom. And then digging deeper, it has to do with like worth, like where I find my worth. Like I think a lot of my worth is in the quality of my relationships. And so if I feel like whatever decision I'm making is going to maybe like make the quality of my it's kind of gonna deteriorate my relationship,
and so you just won't challenge.
So I just like won't challenge. Also, like I don't think like up until I graduated I was using any decision making skills. You know what I mean? Like everything was laid out for you, so like I didn't know like necessarily like how to make decisions.
Yeah. And I think especially for you too, it wasn't really like a waiting game for college too. Right. In terms of like if you applied to a number of colleges and you got accepted to several, then having to go through that phase of like picking which one you want to go to. Right. Like yours was pretty much a one-way track.
I applied to one school, got into one school, and went to one school. Yeah. And so I've never been faced with like, oh, you have to choose A or B. It was like, oh, okay, I'm taking these dance classes. I'm taking these classes. Like everything was set out for me. So like, I don't think at that age, like I knew how to make decisions. Like I'm just starting to realize like, oh, I'm able to like make decisions and just kind of like move forward now. Like it's coming with more ease and like less friction.
Yeah.
So,
which is a big reason why I moved out. Right. Well, my parents are usually right. So like, at the time I was like, yeah, you know, like my fight with my dad, like I cannot do this anymore. I mean, I think in the moment, I think, you know what? I don't really know. I haven't really placed myself back in that situation to really identify why I needed to move. I think I moved for a various, you know, number of reasons, right? Like just to be closer to work and just like, obviously I wanted to be in this area, and like the fight with my dad was not really helping the situation. Like distance allows your heart to grow fonder, so maybe we need to just be more distant, right? Because post that, I mean, we are thriving, right? Like
you guys are great.
Every time I go back home I feel like a princess. So maybe I will. I mean, I have been visiting home like pretty often. Right. So my mom, right? Like I was like, oh, but I mainly at the time was like, I'm moving out because of my dad. And she was like, no, like you're not. Right. And now when I kind of like try to think about it, I think the reason I needed to move out was to allow myself to make my own decisions. Right. Yeah. Because to your point, like even like the time I decided to leave an event with the girls was very much dependent on when my dad expected me to be home. Right? It was not so much like how am I feeling? What am I in the mood for? Like it was, well, you need to be home by 10:30. So I will be home maybe by 11 o'clock. Right. Right. Like even like my weekends and what's kind of like how my weekends went about, like what activities were designated for me that weekend was kind of like based on family. And my dad is a very, like he's so family oriented. Right. And I think so am I, but sometimes it gets like a little too much and it almost becomes like an expectation, and like it's an obvious thing that we need to partake in. Right. But once again, it's like only for me. And sometimes like that expectation is not held to my sister. Right. Like I don't know. But the thing is, it's also my personality. I don't know if I'd ever want to spend a Thanksgiving not with my family. But like, right, like last Thanksgiving, I feel like a big reason we fought was because my sister was not there to mediate. Oh, because she's the buffer. So, yeah, so there's no, well, actually, I'm usually the buffer. But I'm sure if she was there, she would have just like taken on one of our sides. Yeah, the buffer rule. Yeah. So this year too, she was about to not come to Thanksgiving because the weekend concert got like moved to Thanksgiving weekend. I don't know who convinced her because it wasn't me, but now she'll be joining family Thanksgiving. So amazing. I love whoever starts a fight will need to pay a fine to the other individuals. We shook on it. Oh gosh. So yeah, I think like family vacations are like, right, it's that time coming up. Yeah. And so like those can always be really tricky because I think I'm realizing now maybe the reason why there's been some like friction within my family dynamic has been because like there's no one playing the role of buffer. Yeah. Like I think like, you know, when like usually me and my sister trade off of like, oh, like someone's going to be having like problems like for this week and then the other person will be the buffer. But then I think like because I'm not home anymore and like maybe there's no need for a buffer or like there is no buffer, like when I come back home to visit, like the dynamic is changed. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I understand that. I feel like that's why for a hot sec too, when I try to describe my relationship with my sister, I mean, we're close, but we're not like your share our boy problems and our crushes type of relationship, right?
Right.
And I felt like, oh my God, like maybe we'll never be able to be close because I felt like I couldn't play that buffer role. Because even though I want to take her side, which I've told her this before, I want to take her side, but it is so clear that I agree with the parents. But I want to take your side. So maybe that's just the lack of nurture on my end of just taking my sister's side for the sake of taking her side. But I also think it's really difficult, and I feel like we've briefly mentioned this before, is given that we were such obedient children growing up, maybe others kind of experienced this a bit earlier, but at least for like me, I'm just really figuring out myself.
Right.
And I think since we've started this podcast, you've probably heard me say the word like Easter egg, right? It's like Easter egging the fact of like our friends sleeping over at their boyfriend's place, or like going on family trips together, like just the couple, or like kind of introducing all these like more
new
like
wave topics.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, like
that were
so and so lived together.
Untraditional in the Korean household back in the days.
Right.
And so I think, yeah, like where somebody might have been through this journey of figuring themselves out, maybe like in their like late teenage years, maybe it's hitting me a little bit more now.
Yeah.
Like now that I do have the freedom of like obviously living like away from home.
Right.
Yeah, trying to figure out everything really.
Yeah, it's literally
everything.
Everything everywhere all at once, for sure. Because it's just like, there's so many moving parts. There's so many things that are up in the air.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you're trying to identify what your beliefs are. And like, if like the beliefs that you grew up with are like actually the things that you believe in.
Yeah.
Or if it's just because you grew up with, like, it's everything.
And also, like, okay, wait, now there are just too many thoughts. I'm just like, oh my gosh. My parents for a long time since like post move out, or since the move out, I think I think they may be still convinced that I moved out to be closer to like my ex, right? Which I will say played a big factor in the location of like where I chose to live.
Right.
But, you know, it was nice to know that when they actually visited our office, it was nice to hear them like say like, oh, we understand why you moved out. Because before they came to pick up my sister because she had a flat tire,
right,
like they were still mentioning in our conversations like, do you want to come back home? Like thoughts on coming back home. And given that I'm so like, you know, security, stability focused, and with, you know, next year might look a little scary in the economy, like I have entertained that thought.
Right.
But I really like, I can't. I don't think I can. That's the verdict, is I can't.
Yeah.
Because when I think about, like, I don't think our parents understand the amount of stresses that other things give us. Like, and I had this conversation with my parents, like, you know, back in the day, like, you're just kind of loyal to one company. You like work there for maybe like 2-3 decades, and there wasn't like social media. I was actually like kind of explaining to my parents this past weekend actually the idea of like FOMO. Right. I was telling my parents, you know, like you guys don't have Instagram, right? Like pager era, like if you're missing out on something, you don't know that you're missing out on it, so right?
It's fine. Yeah.
I'm sure like middle school, high school friends, you'll later find out like through friend gatherings, oh, so and so got married. Oh, they did? They got married? Oh, you're married? Like it's like that, right? So I was telling them that kids nowadays feel like a lot of anxiety and maybe like have a lot more mental like stress because of, right? Like there's new information all the time. Like, so a mixture of like FOMO and the easy access of information for everybody that you're connected to, kind of like heightens like that mental anxiety.
Oh yeah.
And now we're juggling like trying to stay relevant and trying to fit in, right? Family and even friends and work. I think that was the big part for me, was like they could not understand the amount of stress I was getting from work. So on top of that, like they would still expect me to like kind of play my part in the house, whether that be like cleaning and the dishes and my laundry, which is all like normal things. But like when somebody's nagging about it, it just kind of adds on.
Right.
And that's why the verdict is I cannot go back home.
Oh yeah, no. Like when people say like, oh, you pay for the lack of rent with your mental health, I think it's absolutely true, right? Because when I go back home too, like I think more than anything, it's just like there's no quiet.
Yeah.
There's like, right? There's always something playing. There's always someone yelling. And I'm like, guys, let's just chill. Let's just chill.
But do you feel like now that when you go home, like you are the noise?
No, I'm not the noise. There's just so much noise in the house. Like,
because I am definitely the noise now.
Oh, are you the noise?
Yeah. You know, like when I'm on one, I'm just like,
oh yeah, you are on one.
It's been a while. Like I don't think it's very... Oh. It doesn't happen too frequently nowadays, just when I'm really, really on one.
Right.
Like I was shooketh at myself. Like I had a sore throat and I knew I was getting a sore throat
because you were just
I was just
laughing
updating. I was just updating my parents on like everything. Like, and you know, my storytelling tends to be very detailed. So I was just like, work usually is. You cannot get the point across if it's not detailed. So you need to say everything, like how your mood was and why it impacted you in the way that it did because of your mood and like
because what you were wearing and like what the morning routine was that impacted, because everything's connected.
Yeah, and when you like don't have that morning poop, that definitely affects your mood and then your outfit and feeling stuffed. Everything plays a role.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was funny because my sister wasn't even home this past weekend, and it was just funny to see myself talk that much again.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, no, I think like, you know, when it comes to my household, like I've been realizing maybe we haven't been doing the best job of communicating, because when I say that the two things that make me the most emotional are career and family, so how those two things are intertwined. My career, our 20s, it's all about like finding yourself and finding what you like to do, and like, you know, hopefully finding something that you like enough to do for the rest of your life, right? Maybe not at the same company, but you know, whatever that might be. And so I'm still very much on that journey, still like very much trying to discover like what I'm good at and what I like doing, because I think those two things can be very different things. And so, you know, like I've kind of taken my time to, you know, try out different jobs and like really like push myself in all of that. But also it comes with, you know, my parents kind of questioning like, what is she doing with her life? You know, because I think that, you know, my parents, one difference I'm realizing is like, I think because of maybe language barrier and generational difference with your parents, like it's very apparent that you have to explain things, right? Yeah. But with my parents, super fluent. My mom listens to Big Sean. Yeah. Like my mom came to me one day and was like, I like a song called Big Bank. And literally I was
Big Bank, take little bank.
Yeah. And so I think because they are so fluent and so with the times, a lot of times I don't think that I have to do the explaining. Like I don't have to give them the context as to, you know, why I do certain things and all of that. Yeah. And so I think lack of communication starts from there. Yeah. And then because I know they have certain, you know, types of feelings towards me and my career. Yeah. It makes me not want to communicate to them and make decisions on my own, because I just like want to come to them with like kind of a solution. Like, my solution has been, let's apply to a job, or you know change industries like I have in the past. And so I think that because I like view them as so current and all of that, I'm starting to realize that like maybe they aren't as like with the times and like second generation as I think. I think they definitely, and this is still me making assumptions because I need to talk to my family, but happening like soon. Happening in like 6
TBD.
days. I'm a little nervous about it. And so I think I'm realizing that like they're more traditional, like maybe the only like viable path and most accepted path that they see is to go into like a corporate, climb the ladder, traditional space.
I think as your friend, obviously, like, so I know more just like the personal, you know, your personal life and stuff like that. Right. I think it could be confusing, right? Because when it comes to like being with the times of like, right, like your mom, like allowing you to like, you know, hang out with your friends late at night and like, right, not being like super tiger mom about that. Right. Like you guys had to call my mom so that you guys could get permission for me, because if I asked, it would be a straight up no. You know what I mean? So it's more like it could be confusing because being with the times, there's so many different aspects. Right. Whereas mine's like you said, the complete opposite of the expectation was already there, so traditional. Right. That when they are so chill, I'm like, whoa. Surprised. Or like are affirmed and maybe more comforted to be able to open up and like share my opinions and thoughts and like hear them out or have them hear me out. Right. It's like kind of the opposite.
Yeah, no, that completely makes sense.
So interesting. I think everything is just grass is greener on the other side though, you know?
Yeah, no, of course. But like I think like
that is a great observation.
Yeah, like maybe I need to do more like strategic planning. Like I think that's one thing that you've very much learned how to do. Yeah. Oh, like, yes. You have had to
PowerPoint.
You have been strategic from the beginning. PowerPoint. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Whereas don't encourage me, because then I'm going to get confused in like what I need to do with my career, because maybe I need to go into something that is more
like
operational.
Strategy. Yeah. true.
You know?
Because, right? I think you're always like scheming a little bit with your parents, right? It's like, I think you've trained, I think like minus the lack of training with like you following all the rules, I think in every other way, you are great at training your parents. Whereas I don't know how to train my parents because I'm not training them. They're training me.
You've been trained.
I've been trained. And like, I'm just starting to like break out of that. And like, they're not okay with it. So like, there's just like, it's just a big jumble. It's a very layered, complicated mess. Like,
you need to go in like organized.
Oh, I'm going to make a PowerPoint presentation to talk about all this because my parents have been on my ass about my career.
Visual.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, literally. I was
but
sharing.
you need to like outline like the key points you want to say.
Oh, yeah. No, I like told my sister too. I was like, this is the agenda that I have so far.
Like, you cannot be defensive, right? I don't know about your family. Like, my family, they're like, make judgments too quickly, right? All our tone of voices are a little too high. A thought I just had as you were kind of explaining was going back to like generational trauma. Maybe it's even the fact that like, cause your parents came here when they were younger, like maybe they're trying so hard to like make sure that they don't pass that on, that somewhere in between the steps got jumbled, right? Like maybe them, like they're also avoidant and want things to be so good and making sure that you are not traumatized,
right,
by like familial expectations or right, like filial piety, etc. Like those types of things. That they're not talking about it.
Wait, that's literally exactly what's happening, Julie.
Right?
Like
because they went through it.
Yeah, because I'm sure. Yeah, you're right. That's a great perspective shift. Like, okay, I think a little like detail wise, it's a little different, right? Basically, I think my parents' expectations for them, were you just need to find a job with money.
Yes.
Right? Like, you just need to get us out of poverty. Essentially.
Okay.
Right?
Great. Good plan.
And that was accomplished.
Yes.
Right? And so I don't think that my parents understand, I guess, the pressures of having so much freedom because they did not. And on top of that, right? Like I said, poverty no longer, right? My parents have accomplished that goal. And so automatically it's like golden handcuffs. Automatically I need to level up from there.
Oh, for sure.
And so it's not just me taking one step, but it's taking 2 steps, hopefully 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah. 6 or 7. Right?
We're adding zeros. That's what's happening. Yeah. And so I think that on top of being confused because tyranny of choice, it feels like extra burdensome. And so my parents recognize that, like, you know, career is a thing that's very burdensome. And don't get me wrong, like literally my parents and I have gone into it about like my career specifically.
I can't imagine it, you know, because I don't think I've ever seen you like so like into it, getting into it with someone.
Oh,
have I?
I just cry.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
I'm not a fighter. I'm
okay.
a lover at heart.
Okay, so maybe I have seen you get into it. It was just crying.
Yeah, it's just crying. It's just crying. Okay. It's just like crying and like trying to form my opinion.
It's not raising voices, nothing like that.
Oh no, never angry. Like maybe anger from like the other sides. Like everyone else is angry, and I'm just crying because it's hard for me to like not be avoidant. Like I'm really avoidant when it comes to this stuff, right? And so going back to what I was saying, because me and my family have gotten into it regarding my career, I think that my dad doesn't bring it up because he knows it's burdensome. Yeah. And he knows that in a way, like, this could be like worsening our relationship. Yeah. And so he's also avoidant in that way. Yeah. But then also it's for very like sweet reasons. Yeah. You know, like I fully recognize like why he does it. But then to me, it's coming off like, oh, why don't you guys ever ask like how things are going with my job? Like, why don't you guys ever ask like how I'm doing? You know, like I'm taking his avoidance as like not personally caring. As not caring. Yeah. So, well, you know, like I tend to be a bit more similar to Kara when approaching situations. Yes. Right? Yes. Because even like literally yesterday, my sister had this task at work, but we just got reassigned desks and I made her sit next to me. So we actually sit next to each other at work.
And my boss gave her the task, right?
Okay.
But he just wanted her to like basically rewrite the little paragraph that she needed to work on. So, you know, I said, do you want me to help you? Right. But like not in front of my boss, because I wanted him to think that like, you know, she was doing it. And I was like, do you need help?
Right.
And she got mad at me. Right. And I was like, she was like, that's not what I needed. Going back to like what we talked about, like how they want to be supported.
Right.
But I you know what? I'm still confused. Like, I don't know why that was something she needed to give me attitude for and about. Like, I know, okay, maybe that's not what you wanted, but like, I was offering help. It wasn't like the opposite, right? I wasn't like shitting on you for like not having done that well the first time, or, you know, like, I was just offering help. Like, your answer could have simply been no, but she was so upset that I offered her help. Right. And I bring this up because like, yeah, like what is it that you need from your parents?
Well, so that's the thing is
because clearly they're not asking you because the reaction, right, tends to be similar.
Right. And so I think like I need to do my part in not getting defensive.
Okay.
Because I can get very defensive, right?
Yeah.
But then like my parents are so good at arguing, like dude, speech and debate for sure.
Yeah.
Because they do be speeching and they do be debating with me. Like all their points are just like so valid, and so I get even more defensive.
Yeah.
And so I think it just like I think
Don't cry.
I think everyone needs to cry. I was gonna say I think everyone needs to cry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, have you seen your dad cry before?
Yeah, I have. It was literally during COVID, and it like had to do with all this shit. Like it literally like is so layered, so complicated. So I like don't know where to start.
Yeah, I recommend you guys open up with a prayer, and no, you definitely need to go in with those points.
Okay.
You need to be strategic.
Yeah, because obviously things are not working, and I feel a lot of burden on my end.
Yeah.
But then it's like me nunchi buying all the burden because they're not communicating it to me, and so I just like feel like all this weight has been just like fucking pounding down, and I'm like not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, you know, career, that's a huge one in the way that my parents like affect me.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think like, so even like why I mentioned not giving me so many ideas is because a continuation actually of what I mentioned in our episode last week. I'm just a greedy person. Like I really want it all, right? But I was about to say don't we all, but I know there are people that are just very content, so maybe not all, but right, like just my outlook on life is you live one life, like why don't you try all of it type of thing. But obviously if you've identified what you're good at and what you like stay in those lanes. But I think the word isn't triggered, but I guess this can of worms just opened up again because when I was homesick, right, we were spending a lot of time together, like all three of us just on the couch, like, and my sister was gone during the weekend, so like it was literally like bonding session. And my mom was like, all right, so what's up next? Just like, what's up next? And
like career-wise?
Yeah, or just, career-wise. But like, I think that too is something I've adopted from my parents of just like, what's next? what's next? And I've been trying to break that down because to your point too, it comes from a good place.
Right.
And it could be triggering to me. But I know my mom means it in the sweetest way because, well, two things. It's like, we're such an impatient family just in general, like the chola blood in us.
Right.
It's not so much like, how has work been? Like where is it going? Like do you think you're gonna stay there? It's not like instigative questions.
Okay,
if that makes sense. It's just like what's next. But I know what my mom meant. What was how is it going? And like I know that's what she meant, right? But it's just like what's next, right? Well, I mean, she skipped all those questions to get to the solution question. When I know she is curious about all the questions before that,
right?
And I know she mentioned that because I had expressed how I wanted to go to school again, right?
Right.
I don't know if I've shared this. I'm pretty sure I have. Like season 1, like the goal for me is to become like maybe an executive in the people operations like field, right? And that's why I went from HR to explore recruiting and being in it for a bit over a year now. Like I think it's more of my jam than HR.
Right.
But like in the future, hopefully I can use like both to kind of have a more like internal client facing role, like building a company culture, stuff like that, right? And right, I had mentioned, I want to go to school to get my PhD for that. And who knows, like when I retire working for, corporate America, like I'd like to teach it, right? Because I sat through a master's HR program and I really like that all my professors had like a full-time job and taught on the side.
Right.
Right. And so that's also why she asked what's next, right? But without any of that. Like what's
without
next?
the context.
Yeah. So I was like, what do you mean what's next? So initially I thought she was asking because one of her friend's daughters just got into PA school.
Right.
Right. And, I don't know, like my mom knows I love the work that I do. But I know she also asked because I know a little bit, like a little piece of her, like would like for me to run her clinic one day. Right. And so then, I entertained that thought for maybe 5 minutes too. Like, oh shoot, like, do I need to be like a hard left turn and like
go into like
switching
careers, medical field,
literally like post-bac program? Like, do I need to be going to like, like community colleges to get like biology classes done and like kind of start all over?
Right.
So for a quick 5 seconds, I entertained that thought. But I think the difference is like, I thought about it for 5 minutes while I was laying down on the couch and I was like, no, recruiting, the thing is, it's more so like, people facing and like, what's the word? Not experiential, but like, experiential in the sense of like, it's more the situations that you come across on your day to day. And that's how you learn as opposed to getting a degree in it. You can't get a degree on how to communicate with people.
Right.
Actually, well, I guess that's a communications major.
But like, it's like, like
real life
situations until you do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like how people kind of feel when they're applying to jobs and how to kind of approach people when like delivering an offer, like, right. Kind of placing yourself in those shoes and how to like,
right.
It's actually like
psychological.
Yeah. It's so
strategy.
It's very strategic.
Yeah.
Highly strategic.
Yeah.
And so like those things, you're not like, I mean, I guess you could do case studies, but they're not very like real life examples.
Right.
And so even that, I was telling my mom that, and even like I do like selfishly, I want to go to school because both you and I, that's what we're good at. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, for you, that was your like end goal for a long
college.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we know we're good at it. So part of me, for comforting reasons, I think that's why I want to go to school.
Right.
Right. But there is no reason. I can't find a reason why I need to go to school. Like I want to go to school. And so that's why I told my parents I want to go to school. And so on their end, and being supportive parents is why they asked me, so what's next? Right? Like when are we going to kick off you applying to schools and you going to school? And I know that's why they asked me, because I had expressed that I wanted to go to school.
But then you took it differently.
Yeah. In the moment. Like this is after having done like a week of like replaying that scenario in my head. Like because it was so out of the blue.
Right.
Like, so why did Oma ask me that? Like, right. So I see it two ways, right? Like her friend's daughter just got into PA school at Duke, so congrats to her.
Right.
But also I know she asked me because I had expressed to her, or this was like a thought I realized later on, like, because I had expressed to her I wanted to go to school. That was kind of like a vent session. I don't really know why
No. I think that's good. I think it's great that you're asking like why.
Mm-hmm.
I think
why she asked me.
Yeah, like I think one thing I haven't been doing is asking myself like, why aren't you like maybe asking about my career?
Yeah.
Like I don't think I was like doing that reflection. So I think that gives like great like that's like life
pointers. Those to maybe how you're going to strategize your PowerPoint.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because this is what I learned about. Remember what I shared about like maybe even going to school for a pre-med like degree and stuff like that, because I thought that's what my mom wanted, but it was her just being supportive
of what you said you wanted,
of what I wanted, and me having forgotten that. And then placing all the blame and the weight on what my mom wanted and thinking like she doesn't know what I want, when she was actually trying to push me and be supportive because I said it in elementary school.
Yeah. And then maybe with me, because I don't know what I necessarily want.
Yeah. Like maybe they know you want to be, or like you have the potential and you are going to be so successful.
Right.
It's like, okay, how are we like making sure
that like you
are setting yourself up to get to where we know like
you're capable. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So it's definitely communication, right? Because all this too, I wasn't like telling my mom, like I didn't like blow up on her or anything, but I wasn't like telling her how I analyzed her question of
right,
like
like
what's
throughout
next.
the week. Yeah,
because somebody who maybe isn't so reflective or overthinks like could have taken that like what's next
as just that.
Yeah, offensively.
Yeah.
Just offensive period.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
yeah.
Okay. And then so, right, I think a big chunk of it was career. And do you feel like your parents, you feel a certain like way about your parents and maybe relationships?
Yeah. I think I've identified that I think I'm just such a family oriented person. Like going into relationships, kind of knowing we align on our values and the basic things. I feel like my 2 serious relationships, like both exes, have been kind of integrated into my family a little too quickly. Right. And so I think like most recently, like that was the toughest part for me. Like initially, like around the time of the breakup was like, how am I going to tell my parents? And that's why I had to journal about it. Or right, like I journaled the day before it happened. It was a journal entry actually to God, right? Like I was telling God, I think because I knew like I just needed the courage. And so I actually wrote like, okay, I'm gonna like tell my mom tomorrow. Like I'm not too sure like what's gonna happen with this. Like I just maybe like we're not meant for each other, which I think it's like in hindsight kind of funny to think about. Like why would one need to tell their parents that they're about to break up? Right? Like you don't need to do that.
Right.
But I think that just goes to show how much I care about what my parents think about my significant other. But also I think I felt like I owed it to them, which I didn't. And I know I don't, but I felt like I did because they had done so much, or I felt like they had done so much for him. Right. And so I just felt so bad. Right. Like my mom, she really doesn't cook. I have never seen my mom cook that much.
Right.
And my dad too. Like, well, they did it joyfully. Like they did it with like a full heart. Like it's fine, but like just seeing how much joy it brought them, I think I felt I was scared like to tell them what you thought was going to work out for me, and this significant other, like this person is no longer like working and is going to no longer be a thing.
Dang.
I wrote that. And it was funny, actually. It was my mom. Women just know. You know what I mean? Like my mom.
We got that intuition.
Yeah, like my mom definitely wasn't too surprised. Right? Like she wasn't too surprised. So I wrote this journal entry, like I told my mom the next day, and then we broke up. Right?
Right.
And so then I told her about how it happened the day after the breakup.
That's effing crazy, yeah.
Right? And so yeah, she wasn't too surprised. But I think for my dad, I got really upset. There was a part when I was really upset because he's very traditional in that he would from time to time ask me like, how is it going? Like, is it going all right? But I felt very much that he was always in support of like my ex. Like, why do you care more about like how I am treating him as opposed to how he is treating me? Right? And I think that's a very like Korean male thing. And like, so we would get into like, I mean, I would be upset, but the thing is I wasn't telling them everything, right? So then he left me no choice but to tell him everything.
So you told him everything?
Oh yeah, I told him everything. Yeah.
How did he react?
I think just like everything in the sense of like the stresses I would feel of like, I don't want to sound so dramatic, but just like obviously the parts that you normally wouldn't really share with your parents, right? Like you're not like, the word isn't bad mouth. You know what I mean? Like you're not sharing like everything to your parents. They're your parents. You want them to like your significant other. If you have a little bickering, whatever, you're not sharing everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely not.
But yeah, he left me no choice but to tell him everything. We'll just leave it at that.
Oh, so you want to be supportive of my ex? Oh, I'll show you what you're being supportive of.
Yeah. So once like, I mean, it kind of sucks that like, but you know, my dad he's just so traditionally Korean like that. Like there's just no way you can change that. He's like closer to 60 and it's just how he grew up. He's the youngest of like 8 children, like grew up in like 시골, like farmland,
countryside,
전라도, right? Like that's just how he is. And I think also just like having grown up not with him present, I think also he has some catching up to do still, right?
That makes sense.
Of like
The times.
Yeah, the times. My mom is definitely more with the times than my dad is.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't worry, I recognize that.
So I mean, it was I know my mom was like pulling her strings too in the back.
Oh.
But through it all, we've come out stronger. So
yeah, I mean,
I think it needed to happen.
Yeah, I remember like when you were like, I'm scared to tell my dad.
Yeah,
like I'm scared of what my dad's
even when I
think.
told you, I don't think I actually like expressed to the extent of how scared I was, because I didn't want to do the explaining of like how much he actually really did like my ex and just was like supportive of the relationship and how much they invested in it, right? I mean, we were also visiting my house like together, like
all the time.
Ex, like,
it was weekly,
having meals with my parents, like
weekly, right? Yeah. And so
much.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think it comes back to the whole like when someone looks good on paper, thing. Like my dad always jokes about, oh, I need to see their high school transcript.
Yeah.
But he's not joking. He's like absolute, like he's like who they are in high school is who they are for the rest of their lives.
Oh.
Like if you did not work hard in high school, like I mean obviously like there are exceptions and like they have the capacity to change and all of that, but he's like if you weren't trying in high school, then like no, absolutely not.
That's so interesting.
Oh yeah,
I feel like that's one of those things I need to like keep right under the list of who gets invited to my wedding. Would be individuals that I would not mind buying like a meal one-on-one for.
Oh,
I think that goes like right under there to kind of.
You're gonna ask everyone for the high school transcripts?
No, but I think it says a lot about their character. In that it's making me think a lot about like what I was like in high school and like definitely being intolerant of stress. Like like junior year, like I just don't think I had control of anything. My junior year, like being in AP Psych and AP World History, the worst. I mean, you are juggling quite a lot,
right?
And I mean, college, there are definitely jobs that require GPA, like have GPA requirements for like internships and whatnot. But in college, I feel like you're a little bit more lax.
Yeah,
you're away from home, but like in high school, you are dealing with friends.
Family
around you all the time, family, AP, getting to college, but also still performing in high school, and you might be doing some instruments and sports. And we were going to church. Right. And because you're building up your resume for college, you're a part of all these extracurricular like clubs and stuff like that. I think that says a lot about your interests, your hobbies, your character.
That's fact.
Your personality.
It's
so I like it.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna be asking them, but I don't know.
But I think you can
try to bring it up organically.
Bring it up hey, let's pull out our high school transcripts.
Because usually when people are talking about like their hobbies or their sports that they play,
right?
It's like there are a lot of people who are probably on their high school basketball teams than college. So when they say like, oh, I love basketball, you go like, oh, so did you did you play like in college? Well, I have to say like, yeah, intramural, but yeah, I like was on the basketball team in high school.
You're so
That's how
funny.
I envisioned the conversation going.
You're so funny.
But football over basketball, so.
Okay, got it. I think the people know that for sure by this point with every other football,
I had so much fun.
Check in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like, my dad too, like I think a lot of times like I feel like I view my parents' expectations as like so high. And so when in reality, like I think they just want me to be happy.
Yeah.
And so like maybe I need to do like less catering to them. Unlike your dad, how he was asking about like how you were treating your significant other versus the other way around. I think my parents are always like, oh, how is he treating you?
Yeah.
Or they see it, and like that's one thing is like my mom was like, oh yeah, like you got princess treatment. Like he treats you like a princess. And so I was like, oh, okay. Like I think I'm glad to see that they care about like.
But that's just what I'm saying. Like to me, it seems like they are being super cautious.
They're
super cautious.
That they won't even say anything bad about my significant other if they don't see it. If they
like to your face.
They won't say it ever. Yeah. It'll come out after. Like now it's like they'll joke about like certain things and I'm like, bro, where was all of this? And they're like,
oh my god, yeah, not my parents.
Oh, they're straight up.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. That's so funny. Because I feel like at the start, it was almost like I had to convince them.
Right.
And then it feels nice to have done the convincing.
Yeah.
And I just convinced them so well that then I felt bad. That's kind of what happened.
Oh, shoot.
Right?
Oh, yeah. I don't do any convincing. I'm just kind of like, okay. Like, I don't, like, low-key, I don't know how to be in a relationship and, like, integrate that into my family. Like, that doesn't happen. My family is a very, like, nuclear family. Like, even with significant others, it's like, you know, like, oh, I'm not really gonna, like, set up a meal.
Yeah.
Like, it's like...
See, I need to be a little bit more like that, though. You know?
I think it makes breakups way easier.
Yeah.
Like, way easier.
I need to, like, not do so much.
Right, but then, like, also, if you like doing that, then I think that's fine.
Which has been a question to myself that I've been trying to identify too.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So...
Okay, maybe I need to come on to your side a bit more. Because I think I would like my significant other... Like, just like I would like them to be integrated into a friend group, like, I want them to be integrated into the family a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, along the way. Like, we can't be freshly dating.
Yeah.
You know? Wow, so much.
Yeah.
Wow, so much.
Oh, it feels good to have said it all, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like...
Well, and I think because... well, everything is just... I mean, life. I don't know if I've shared this on the pod, but... I was definitely telling my parents about it this past weekend too, during our bonding session, how everyone's gonna have problems, right? Like whether you are Warren Buffett or like on like food stamps, like if money's the issue, everyone will always have money issues, right? So similar to like, you know, like the loan forgiveness, right? You're gonna have issues because you had so many loans to pay off and you get the Biden thing, and then some people who have paid it off are gonna be like, Fark, why did I pay it off? I could have had like 20,000 like forgiven, right? So life is just a swarm, a cloud of problems.
It really is.
And so on the flip side, my parents now do not want to meet a significant other until they're gonna get on one knee. So I will probably not be introducing the next one.
They just went completely opposite.
Yeah, now they don't want to engage.
Oh.
So
okay, no more cooking for your mom.
Yeah, no more. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I wouldn't even have her do that.
Okay,
anymore,
yeah.
So
oh yeah, no.
We learned our lesson.
Oh yeah, I learned a lot of lessons as well.
Through this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like, you know, it's the end of the episode, and I know we did a lot of venting, but I would like to say, like, I love my family so much. Like, my family and I are like so close, which is why we're having these issues. You know, like you said, everyone has their problems. Like, I think I would feel a type of way if like we didn't have this closeness and so didn't have any problems. So I think I am at the... You know how they say like shorter end of the stick? I guess I'm at the longer end of the... I don't like that phrasing. But like, right? I do think like the side that I'm on, it's actually greener in a way because I'm like, you know what? I would rather like have this like closeness and like relationship with my family and like be fighting.
Yeah.
Or like being in a little ruckus, a little, a little
ruckus.
Yeah. Then the opposite. So
yeah, I definitely do believe in that too, right? Like if you're not fighting, which is a conversation I've had in my previous relationship, and we didn't agree, but I think fighting is organic and healthy.
Yeah, I think it's very normal.
And making sure you're adapting to what that person thinks like in the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Like your parents have known you from the start.
Before the start too. Yeah.
Exactly. Before the start, actually.
They are the start. They are me.
Yes.
Yeah, literally.
And you are them.
No, yeah. And yeah. That's why we fight so much.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like this wouldn't happen if you didn't care, this wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I give you all the good power.
Thank you. I'm gonna need to.
Let me know how it goes.
Maybe you know how like we do like mock presentation.
Yeah, I think you should.
Okay, we'll do a mock presentation.
Because honestly, I would be a great candidate. Because I think similarly to your parents and your sister, to be honest. So.
Okay, let's put some time on the cal.
So yes.
Okay.
Yes, I will send you my Calendly and we can get that on the books.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I'll confirm via email.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Thanks for, sitting with us, listening to us, watching
on this gloomy
us.
Day. I think this was great.
Yeah, no, it was.
Kind of like dark.
It's like
kinda.
Nice. My eyes are like slowly closing.
Yeah, I feel like food coma right now.
I need to take a nap.
Hannah made me a bomb sandwich.
Yeah. Okay, but you guys should follow us on Instagram and TikTok at bulgogi.podcast, on Twitter at bulgogi podcast. It's been a little bit more active. Subscribe on YouTube. I'm on Instagram and all other platforms. I'm on Hannah Cat, HANAKATTT.
And me at BEJULIFIET.
1, 2, 3.
I have like short-term memory all of a sudden. What do we say again?
Bye.
1, 2, 3.
See you next week.
I'm so congested.